Attack on Titan is one of the best shows ever made. It is undoubtedly peak, and anyone who says otherwise is honestly just hating. Whether it's the well-written, awesome arcs, the most insane plot twists and reveals out of any show, or the moments of pure eye-watering animation, this show just always seemed to deliver. However, there is one aspect of the show that almost never gets discussed beyond a surface level, and that is the show's themes. There will be spoilers in this video, so be warned. Whether it's Erwin's speech on loyalty, the way that Paradis and Marley act as a reflection of one another, or Eren's wrestling with freedom, the themes this show explores are just superb. However, what I really want to talk about today is something much broader. That is the philosophy of the world of Attack on Titan, and how it acts as the driving force for the characters' motivations and the other ideas explored within the show. For me, to find this overarching philosophy, we need to go right to the very end of the show and to its final scene. We see a tree that also appears at the beginning of the series, and watch as it grows taller and taller over many years. Time passes, and then in the background, we see the city of Trost grow and grow, becoming an almost futuristic cityscape. Next we see a conflict occur as a helicopter is shot down and fighter planes fly over the sky. The city is under attack and begins to burn. Missiles strike the city and it appears to be decimated, until in the final shot we see a boy walking towards the tree, now spiraling and twisted into the sky. This scene is arguably the most important of the show, because it recontextualizes the epic story that is unfolded before it. There are a number of parallels between this final scene and the rest of the series. Firstly, in its connection to the first scene of the series' first episode, where Mikasa and Eren are both sat at the foot of that very same tree. It completes the loop established in that episode, with its title being To You in 2000 Years. This, I think, is one of the most easily missed but important parts of the series, its first core theme that I want to discuss. It's the idea that things, no matter how seemingly important or unique, will repeat themselves in time. If this final scene takes place 2000 years in the future, then this connection between the first and last episode tells us something almost drastic, that none of it mattered, that you could skip the whole series and the characters would still be in the very same place that they began, at that tree. On its own, that idea could easily be criticised. What's the point if everything stays the same? Doesn't that mean it's all meaningless? But I believe that's the point that Isayama is trying to make, that no matter how full life is, no matter how important events and moments seem, you always begin and end in that same place. Eren and Mikasa, for all their achievement, end up back at that tree. I don't think he is appealing to nihilism here, more so coming to terms with the reality of it all. It is an interesting idea, that from the very moment life wakes, symbolised by Eren's waking from his dream, it could be in conversation with death. It could have some knowledge of what will inevitably come. It almost makes this knowledge feel comforting. At one point Eren was free, but what did it take to achieve that freedom? He became an unstoppable monster. That is the closest he came, and he's still a slave to the trajectory and to that grotesque fall. Was he happy? Was he even in control of his freedom? If that horror is true freedom, then it makes one comforted to know that he ended up back where he started at the end. He could have sat there for all eternity, and would have been more free than he was on that path. However good a narrative this show has, there is something supremely interesting about that idea, that it might all have been for nothing, and that in the end, sitting may be the same as standing. To live passively may still be to live freely. However, this cyclical nature is made even more clear with the development of trust we see over time. At the beginning of the scene, we see the city, and as the tree grows, so does trust. It gets taller and taller, until war seemingly breaks out. Here is the second part of this series' overarching themes, the cyclical nature of war and conflict. Attack on Titan, in this final scene, says that after all that fighting, even after the battle, maybe even when the war is won, there will be another. While a pessimistic outlook, this is something that is hinted at way earlier in the show, in a scene where Mikasa watches two bugs fighting. This small inclusion early on, to me at least, is a depiction of the nature of battle and conflict, and just how natural it is. This is a main part of the show's philosophy. It is reflected in much of the key conflicts and character motivations within the series. For instance, upon finding out that the undercover Titans are also children like our main protagonists, we are meant to see the horror in a conflict that centers ideologically indoctrinated child soldiers. However, we are never shown any alternative to this reality. The children of Paradis fight for their survival from the Titans, while the children of Mali have been forced to fight for better treatment by the Malians and for their own survival. In other words, there is no alternative. The situation is as it is. Drawing a comparison from the bug scene, here we see how humans, forced to fight for their survival, are just like bugs, fighting the wild. It is just nature. Bringing this back to our final scene, we should no longer see a pessimistic outlook, but instead the natural continuation of conflict. As with our previous theme, we have again found that after all that, after 4 seasons of narrative progression and resolution, we are back where we started, now in the midst of some new conflict. This idea is yet again important, and I think also does a good job of reinforcing what has been previously said. To live passively may still be to live freely, but I also think it goes away in the other direction. There should be no harm in the nature of conflict. That likewise, to live actively, even without any achievement to show for it, is also respectable. It is, after all, survival. The last thing I want to discuss involving this final scene is the continuation of the story through the burying of the founding titan underneath another tree. Previously, we saw how Ymir's founding powers can be associated with a tree, as it is shown in the Season 4 flashback sequence that recalls Ymir's life. In this final scene, the founding titan is yet again entangled in a tree, awaiting its next founder. This adds to the overall cyclical nature of the series' theming. Everything will continue and repeat no matter what. However, throughout the show, the founding titan has always been framed as a universe-altering power. Therefore, its continuation here is no accident. Depending on how one views the show, you can either see this final shot as hopeful or bleakly continual. I saw one comment suggesting that in a future world that looks peaceful, maybe the founding titan would be used to rebuild humanity. However, I cannot think anything other than that is deeply naive. The continuation shows the everlasting presence of powerful forces. In a real-world context, we could see the founding titan as an exaggerated depiction of fire or the atomic bomb. It's clearly something life-altering. It is this temptation and its existence that is really interesting to me. Great power will always exist, and no matter how many times it is proven to lead to death, someone will always try and claim it in the name of good. I am not hopeful of that good outcome. So what can we grasp from this final scene of this amazing series? That we will die where we were born, either metaphorically or physically, that conflict is natural and eternal, and that there will always be some kind of power that exists promising to change the world, whether for good or for evil. It is a philosophy rather like that of our own world, and I think that is what's most powerful about it. That for all its absurdity, its titans, its giant walls, Attack on Titan is a show that carries a series of important societal truths, things that are true for not just a fictional world, but our real world and our real society. These are truths that we will just have to live with. Thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe for more amazing content.